So, hello everyone. Welcome to this newest edition of our IIBA certification chat. We are about to kick off a new um, BABOK study group that begins on January 27th. So, anybody who's interested in getting the ECBA, CCBA, or the CBAP certification, um, feel free to join our study group. You'll get a lot of great learning. We have a very structured process. You'll have a group to learn with and everything. So we will be sharing actually a code with you during this. I'll be sharing it in the chat, which will give you I think it's 20% discount on the member price. Make sure if you are an IIBA member that you log into our website to make sure you can see that member price. So members get a discount if you're from Region 2 or Region 3. Sorry, Canada, you're still Region 1. But if you're Region 2, Region 3, we got discounts, and IIBA student members get a discount. So if you're any of those, you can get, a little bit cheaper, a little bit less expensive of that training. We do train ECBA students differently or at that same or at the competency level for ECBA. You don't have to prepare at the CBAP level, which most training partners and everything try. They only have one level, and everybody's got to train at that, and that's CBAP level. We actually have an ECBA study guide, and our practice tests are at the ECBA. We have an ECBA and we have a CBAP one. So you are training at that ECBA level to pass that exam. With that said, let me introduce our speaker tonight. So Andy Lytle, as I said, has been a long time member. He's a past chapter leader for the Bluegrass IIBA chapter. He is actually in Lexington, works for Susco, which is in New Orleans. So definitely working remote. I don't think you travel down there to New Orleans all the time, do you, Andy?
Not every day, just a few times a year.
Just
Yep.
a few times a year. Okay. So you've been on the French Quarter?
Yes, we have. Glad I wasn't there on the first, though.
Oh, yes. So Andy, 3, 4 years ago, got his CCBA certification, and his employer asked him to get to CBAP. So he set that goal, took a few months to study and everything. And November, December, I think you've got your CBAP. And that, so, he's been able to achieve those goals and that. So he wants to come here and let you, give you some tips and tricks and get you prepared to get that certification. So I will turn it over to you, Andy.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that kind introduction. It's great to be here, and welcome to everybody that's joined from all over the world. That's exciting. Um, just to share a little bit more about who I am, as Aaron mentioned, I work for Susco. Susco Solutions is a leading provider of software consulting solutions with a nationwide client base in the property claims management space. And I've been with them for a little over 2 years now. They started out in New Orleans just as an office-based company, pretty small back around 2010 or so. And COVID really changed them. They sent everybody home. Then they realized that they could actually work from home and be just as successful, and in fact, expand their workforce to not just New Orleans, but all over the country. So I've been thrilled to be a part of that company. It's probably my best company, definitely, that I've worked for in my life. I've been there, as I said, 2.5 years as a business analyst. Before that, I worked for a few different places. Kind of got my feet wet at Conduent, which used to be Xerox here in Lexington. And then got to serve with the state of Kentucky for a few years. That was really entertaining and a great learning experience. And then a company that was here local in Lexington, Edgeco Holdings, was with them for a little bit as well. But I love just understanding technology and what the software needs to do and making it work well for the users. So that's really my passion is just helping make software make people's lives easier. And as Aaron mentioned, I did get my CCBA several years ago. At that point, I didn't have enough years of experience to be able to go for the CBAP, or I would have done it then. But I wanted to my undergrad and graduate work was actually not in technology, and I wanted to have something on my resume that would show that I'm actually interested, I'm actually serious about business analysis, and that's what I love to do. And this was really a ticket to do that. Took a fair amount of effort for sure. In fact, I took the study group with the Bluegrass IIBA twice. I took it in 2017, and then life kind of got in the way, changed jobs. And then I took it again almost a year later, and that really helped me a lot to get through the material because it was some challenging material to get through, but that was super helpful. And then I was able to pass the exam on my first try. And then, as Aaron mentioned, I went for the CBAP this year and was able to pass on my first try there. So I want to get into um, and and I guess this is not just a monologue type of thing. So if anybody has questions along the way, feel free to raise your hand and we can stop and get into that. I just have these slides just to kind of keep me on track and remind me what to talk about. So this time is about you guys, not about me. So I want this to be helpful for you all. So these are just some things I was planning to talk about as far as like how I studied for it, and then a little bit about the test itself. Um, and I talked about this timeline a little bit already, but one thing I wanted to highlight was that when I went through the study group with Aaron and team at the IIBA, they do a practice exam during like the final session there. And I scored a 54% on that final exam in the study group. I was scared to death because I had already, before that study group ended, based on their advice, I went ahead and scheduled my exam with IIBA 4 weeks out from that point. And here I am at the end of the study group. I'm only scoring 54%. I'm like, I've got a long ways to go, a lot of work to do. But definitely, I work better under deadlines, under pressure. So that helped a lot to have the exam already scheduled and just kept working at it and, pretty intensely for a few weeks. And then I was taking the test on a Monday. So I took Friday off of work and I spent the whole day Friday just taking practice exams, spent some more time throughout the weekend working on it, and then was able to go in first thing Monday and pass the exam. So that's kind of what worked for me. I did something similar this time. I do want to mention too that the study group helps you with getting, if you need PDU hours to get the certification, it also helps with that. So it's a double benefit. I don't think I could have gotten through the material on my own, especially first time through. I would have gotten sidetracked for sure. Um, this time around, when I went for the CBAP, I did it a little bit differently. I felt like since I'd already gone through the material before, that I wasn't starting fresh and everything. So I didn't take any study groups. I just kind of worked on this one on my own. I applied for it. So I did that first step of the application in September 2023. And that kind of starts the clock for you because once you do that, you have 1 year to be able to pass the exam. And my company gives us 24 hours a year for professional development. So I made use of that for my study time. I would block off like 3 hours a week during work time and just work on it. Now, granted, uh, work stuff had to be a priority. So there were many weeks when I just couldn't actually use that time for studying, but just kept pushing forward. And as I got closer to that 1 year point, I cranked up the heat on myself and just, kept pushing. Did a 1 day cram session where I took off of work and just studied and took practice tests all day. And then the very next day, I did the exam at home with the now where they have the proctored exams that you can take from home. Definitely like that a lot better than going to the testing center that I had done for my first for the CCBA. So I do recommend that if you can. Let me just stop for a second and see if anybody has any questions so far.
I'm not seeing any.
Well,
Did you say you had other study material besides the CBAP?
Yeah, I'm going to get into that here in a second.
All right.
One of them was the watermark study guide. That's what I used on my first round when I did the CCBA. Second time around, I did a few different things, but I think the biggest thing I did was just read the Baybach. I just went through it directly, and I also, at least some of the time, I did it alongside this study guide right here. It's by Weiss and Wagner. It's a little less expensive than the Watermark. It does have a helpful online test bank that I used extensively. Like each chapter you go through, it's got like a 20 question quiz that helps you figure out if you comprehended that material or not. And then it's got some practice exams that are included. They're not as good as Watermark's practice exams, and there's not as many of them. So definitely put an asterisk on that. But it was less expensive, and it apparently it was good enough for me because I did pass the exam, um, and and it was a useful resource. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Um, I did use, especially the first time through, I used some flashcards. I bought the flashcards from Watermark, and those were helpful in just like memorizing key concepts. It might be even more helpful to make your own. Then you kind of remember it, and it's more effort, more gained from it if you put in more effort. Or if you've used Quizlet before, that could be really helpful as well. It's just a online way to test yourself. I know my boys have used that. Um, Something that helps me a lot is acronyms. Uh, Watermark gives you some of them in their study guide. Not all of those necessarily worked for me, so I kind of made my own, and I used those acronyms to remember the knowledge areas and the the tasks that are under the knowledge areas. So just memorizing all of that was super important for me in passing the test. Um, Definitely make sure you know the knowledge areas, and then from there drill down and learn and understand the tasks, the inputs, the guidelines and tools, the outputs. And I really would emphasize the techniques. There's those techniques are integrated in the questions in the exam. So you really need to have a good grasp on the techniques and dig deeper on them as well. Like, don't just rely on what's in the Watermark study guide for the techniques. Um, Read and reread what the Baybach has to say, and even go beyond that if needed. Like do some research, do some Google, whatever you need to make sure you have a good grasp of what the concept is. One example of that was financial analysis. I remember especially when I took the CCBA exam that there were a few questions in the financial analysis area that kind of surprised me. It was pretty, it was basically doing math equations and calculating return on investment and different things like that. That I don't know how well I did on those questions at the time, but it definitely reminded me how important techniques are, and that you can't just kind of skim over that section, the Baybach. It's pretty important to have a good knowledge of those. I mentioned practice exams. The Watermark book does come with um, a link, and I see some stuff in the chat there about that. Aaron, feel free to correct me if I misstate something, but as far as I know, that book comes with 5 days of practice tests. And what seems to work well is to start that 5 days like right before your exam, so you can kind of do some last minute cramming. Alternatively, if money's not an issue, you can subscribe to their practice tests and you can use them for a much longer period of time. So some really good options there. And also mentioning that Weiss Wagner book that I went over earlier. So the biggest thing is really just be methodical. Don't freak out. Like, if you get a bad score on a quiz as you're preparing, that's just part of the process. It's not easy material, but just keep going, keep working at it. Really over time. Don't try to cram it all in 1 week for sure. The exam itself, it varies a little bit depending on whether it's CCBA or CBAP. The CCBA was a little bit shorter. It was 3 hours and I had 130 multiple choice questions. So I did the math there. Um, it was something happening here. Yeah, it was a minute and 23 seconds per question. So I just kind of had that in mind, as I went through the test that I've got to pace myself. I've got to keep going. I can't dwell too long. So there's a lot of questions to get through. On the CBAP, I had a little bit more time there. It was 3.5 hours and a little bit less questions, 120 questions. I'll be honest with you, I felt, and I don't know if it was just because I had already done the CCBA, so I had that under my belt. I questioned that because there was like 6 years in between. I don't retain stuff that well. Like if you ask me what I ate for breakfast or ate for dinner a week ago, I'm definitely not going to be able to tell you. So ask me about something from 6 years ago, I don't know how much I'll be able to tell you. But I felt like the CBAP was slightly easier than the CCBA exam for me. And that may have been the extra time that they give you and the fact that there's less questions. But I was surprised that with the CBAP, I actually had time left over. I got done through the whole exam in maybe like a little over 3 hours and had some time to go back through and check questions and had a couple questions that I had flagged. So I got to go and look at those and then still had like 10 minutes left. And I was like, every time I look at these questions, I second guess myself. Maybe I should just trust my instinct and there was a button you had to click to submit and say that you're done. And I held my breath and clicked that submit button. And thank goodness, got the good news right after that. It popped back up on the screen, said that congratulations, Andrew, you passed the exam. Man, what a relief that was. I really honestly had no idea how I had done. I thought I did okay, but you just don't know until you click that button. And what a relief that was. And then maybe 5 minutes later, I got an email that told me it doesn't give you your exact score. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. It doesn't give you your exact score. It just tells you like for each knowledge area, how you did in comparison to other people. Like, did you do more favorably or equally, that sort of thing. But honestly, at the end of the day, what matters is that you pass. You don't have to sweat over whether you got 99% or 89%. You pass the exam, and it's an accomplishment that you can be proud of and put on your resume, and also use it as a way to just encourage others in their journey. Because I definitely feel like having this certification has helped my career. Um, as I mentioned earlier, I've changed jobs a few times over the years, and I do feel like just having a certification on the resume got it more attention than without having that. Now, how do I prove that? I can't really prove that, right? Um, but I do feel like there was a pretty good demand for certified BA, and I'm very grateful that by the grace of God and a lot of hard work and with the certification that I, I'm able to work where I am in the role that I have. So I would definitely recommend if you're kind of starting out in the business analysis journey, definitely check out the certifications. Take a look at this upcoming study group through the Bluegrass IIBA. It's much more affordable than other options you'll probably find out there. Wonderful people that just really walk with you through the journey and help you get there, answer questions, and work together with good folks along the journey. So um, I'm leaning toward not going through a ton of detail on the test itself because that's something that gets covered in the study group. But if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer it. That's pretty much the end of my slides. And I just want to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions, thoughts, things you want to focus on.
Okay, everybody's mic should be open. Feel free, come off mute and ask any questions you have, or you can put them in the chat and I will relay those to Andy. I noticed I've been chatting there in the chat and noticed it was going to host and panelist. So most of you have not seen what I've been chatting. So I'm going back and trying to find all of those. I did get our upcoming study group is from January 27th to April 7th. And it's 14 sessions. It will give you all 35 hours you need to set for the CBAP. So like Andy was saying, the PD hours that you need to qualify for the CBAP, this one study group alone will give you those. I did also put in a chat that we do recommend the Watermark Learning online practice exam platform. It's very good. Andy talked about that. You can buy a 30, 60, or 90-day subscription to that. If you purchase the Watermark Learning CBAP study guide, as Andy said, it does come with a 5-day subscription. And you can certainly extend that with the 30, 60, or 90-day. I got the link out there now. I got to go back. I'm trying to find the code. So we do have a 40% discount that Watermark Learning gives our chapter for anybody. There it is. For their online practice platform. They do have so they have a CCBA, they have an ECBA, AAC if you're interested in that. So you just go to their website and poke around, in that certification resources area. And you could find any of those things, and that 40% discount is good for any of them. And it's good all year long. So if you're interested in that, feel free. If you are planning on taking our study group, again, we got the discount for you. You can find the code in the chat. And we will purchase the CBAP study guide. That's part of the study group. It's integrated in our pricing. So you don't have to purchase that separately. You will get the CBAP or an ECBA study guide if you participate in our study group. So you don't have to purchase those outside of that. So did you learn what you came here to learn today?
Just a quick question for Andy. If you were to pick one major piece of advice for those that are studying for the exam, what would that be?
I think it's nothing that I haven't already said, but I think I would just say to make a schedule and work your, make a plan and work your plan. Um, give yourself time, set a deadline. Uh, those deadlines can really drive action. And part of my motivation was my CCBA was expiring, so I had the choice of just renewing that or getting the CBAP. And my employer said, "Hey, why don't you get the CBAP?" I said, "All right, let's do that." So a little push from the employer never hurts, especially when they're paying the bill, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Sounds like
So,
the power of a deadline.
Oh yeah.
yes, that's something we absolutely promote in the study group is that setting a deadline, knowing what you have to plan for and that knowing when you have to be ready to take the exam. Amal, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, the study group sounds such a great idea. However, I have done similar preparations already. I've gone through the BEPA book a couple of times. I feel that I'm ready to schedule my examination, but still I wanted to have access to some demo examinations. Do you have any recommendations?
We do recommend the Watermark Learning. They've got the best online practice exam or practice test platform that is out there. You purchase a 30 or 60 or a 90-day subscription to that platform, and they have a CBAP, a CCBA, and an ECBA exam. So you're purchasing one of those. So if you're interested in the CBAP, then you purchase that exam.
Thank you.
And I did put in the chat that Watermark Learning has given us a 40% discount on those subscriptions. So get that code out of the chat. Let me know if you need it again.
I,
Um,
I got the code. Thank you so much. Of course, I will go through the materials and the link that you have provided for the watermark. I'm wondering if their subscription is for the demo examinations only, because I believe I don't need the learning materials. Do they have only subscriptions for the examination?
yes,
Perfect. Thank you.
yes. When you purchase that 30, 60, 90 days, it is for just the online, examination practice exams platform and that. You will see their advertising on the page when you get there, their training, which is, $1,900 or something much higher. So you don't have to take their training class. You don't have to take our study group. If you've got the self-discipline to study yourself, I do always recommend practice exams and that. Get ready for the type of questions that you're going to be asked on the actual exam. So do that. Anna
Hi.
Dickey, you had a question? Anna Di?
Yes.
There you
Yes. Okay. My hand was up. So thank you for this session. I wanted to find out what days of the week does the study group meet and how often in a week is the meeting?
Our study group will meet on Monday evenings, 6 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern, United States. There are 4 sessions that are on a Thursday, so we can scrunch it down. It doesn't take 14 weeks. It's 9 weeks. So there's, 9 Monday sessions and 4 um, Thursday sessions. And so, like I said, it's 14 sessions to get you to 35 PD hours. And those can be used as CDUs. So if you already got the certification and need to recertify, that's a fast way to get your 35. You don't even need 35 well, actually for CBAP, you need 60 over 3 years. But anyway, Shahangi?
Yes, hi, it's Shubhangi.
Hi.
I just want to know that this section is 14 weeks long, but if we want to pass this exam, means just I started for the ECBA exam, initial exam. So it could be good to you can give us the material which is self-based or something, because we have sometimes we have at least 1 to 2 months in our hand. So in between we have to prepare that.
Okay. Yes, the ECBA, ECBA, people interested in ECBA can take our study group. I don't know how the time may work out, or if you're here in North America, um, how that might work out for you. Um, uh, but yeah, we train anybody who wants this is for the IIBA core certifications, the ECBA, CCBA, or CBAP. And we will have more certification chats later in the year for the specialized, the AAC, the business data analytics, and whatever the other one, product ownership analysis. So we will have study groups for all of those, as well as a certification chat leading into that study group later in the year. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, actually, but I didn't get that end date of that your classes, because you said it's from January 27, and what will be the end date of that class?
April
Study
7th.
April 7.
Yeah, and April 7th is the final practice exam
Mm-hmm.
date, and that's actually the only session in April. So, all the others go through March. So it's January, February, March, and then we give you like a 10 or 11 day time to do some studying in that before we have the final practice exam. And we feel that our final practice exam, it's an online thing. The study group is virtual. So you don't have to be here in the United States to take it. You don't have to be in Kentucky. Um, so all study sessions are virtual. The practice test and practice exam are virtual. And yeah, we give you that 10 or 11 days from the final study session to the practice exam, the final practice exam. And we feel that final practice exam is a pretty good gauge, except for Andy's case. It's a pretty good gauge of how prepared you are, because we make it as realistic to the actual CBAP or ECBA exam as we could. So, and we had several of our certified individuals involved in writing those practice questions, those practice test questions. So, we got a lot of input to creating that and making it as realistic or as close to the actual IIBA exam as we could. So
There was a question here from Rebecca earlier in the chat. She said, what difference has the certification made in your work as a BA to have the CBAP, CCBA knowledge? That's a little bit challenging to answer probably, but I would say overall, just having the foundation of knowing all the different aspects that are involved in being a business analyst, even though I may not do all of those every day in my job, but just kind of having a bigger perspective of it. And also, I think the techniques were really eye-opening to me, that even though it's not an exhaustive list of techniques, it's a really good list in the BABOK. And having those at my disposal to know that there's a lot of other ways that I can get at things than what I just naturally do. So knowing that that's out there and challenging myself in the future to take advantage of that, I think is good.
yeah, Bill kind of answered that in the chat as well, is that builds your confidence. So, and IIBA calls the BABOK generally accepted practices. They don't call it best practices, just generally accepted, because over 100 people were involved in writing that BABAC, writing and reviewing the BABAC before it was published. So you get the confidence that you're doing it the way most BAs in the world do it. You're doing it, you're delivering business analysis service to your organization or client, you know, along the same lines as you know other BAs do. You know, you're doing it the way the profession says you should do it, and that so, and in IIBA's their global state of business analysis report that came out this year. That's one thing that they say that all certified recipients have noted, you know, greater confidence at work from getting a certification. It tells people that you understand the concepts. I would tell you, we at the Bluegrass IIBA chapter are working with a couple of universities in Kentucky, getting to their students and everything, and encourage them to start building your career by getting involved with our chapters and that events. And you know, basically rub elbows with practicing BAs who might help get you your first job, you know, when you do graduate. We're encouraging them to graduate with your degree and the ECBA certificate.
Some questions there in the chat.
Do we need any experience for study groups? You want to take that, Andy?
Sure. I would say not really. I mean, it's good if you're already a business analyst, but even if you're interested in being one, you can jump in, and yeah, it's geared for anyone that hasn't even read the BABAC yet, you know, who has no idea. They cover from square one. So I would say no.
Yeah, we go right through that. It comes down more to the CBAP requires you to have 7,500 hours of business analysis experience. So if you're going for the CBAP, you already have to be a BA and have worked at least 3 years full-time as a BA or 5 years part-time. If you're going for ECBA, you could get that with no BA experience and no BA training, but it requires knowledge of the BABAC, which the study group goes through, as Andy just said. So you don't need experience, you know, or even knowledge of it, you know, leading into it for the ECBA. If you're going for CBAP, then you do have that knowledge. You've already been working in it. So someone asked for the code to the watermark learning practice exam, so it's there again in chat. Hopefully everybody's got our upcoming study group. I'll look for you all's registration. So are all those study groups for CBAP, CCBA only? I'm looking to start my ECBA. So yeah, ECBA, you know, if you're interested in ECBA, we welcome you to the study group as well. Like I said, we will train you at that ECBA competency level. Someone new, ECBA is targeted by IIBA for those coming into the profession. Not a lot of experience in that. You don't need experience to get the ECBA. The CCBA is targeted for people who's basically about 2.5 years of BA experience, and you have to document that on the application in order to sit for that exam. The CBAP is targeted for seasoned BAs or senior BAs that have 5 years of experience, or it's actually 7,500 hours of business analysis experience. So yes, ECBA students, you're welcome to the study group. If you're an IIBA member, you're in Region 2 or Region 3, or you're an IIBA student member, we have discounts for you. So here, let me.
One more question. I have one question.
Okay.
Actually, I have the experience in some construction domain in a product coordination job.
Okay.
Will I be the eligible to give the exam of CCBA instead of ECBA?
It comes down to whether you can document that you CCBA requires 3,750 hours
Okay.
of BA experience, and it doesn't matter what industry that is in. So whether you're construction, manufacturing, retail, doesn't matter. It's just that it doesn't even matter if your job title is business analyst. I tell people, and it's absolutely true, I got my CBAP before I ever held the job title business analyst. I was always called a programmer analyst or a team lead, but when I started looking at the CBAP and got interested in getting that, I looked through the eligibility requirements and I kept saying, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. So I decided to go and get the CBAP. But to that point, I had never held the title business analyst. It's all about the tasks that you do in your work. If they're tasks or techniques that are in the BABAC, that's business analysis. So if you're doing that kind of work, you're interested in doing that kind of work, ECBA is for you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. I put the BABAC study group starting the 27th, so a couple weeks. And that the early bird pricing does end next Friday on the 17th. So to get in at the lowest cost possible, you want to get registered before the 17th. Once you register in that, we will be sending you out your study guide, and all the information you need about the study group and that. And then one day before each session, we send you the meeting link to connect to the online learning session and that. So you get that every time. You don't have to keep an email to be able to connect to the learning sessions, the study sessions. All right. We got Tandeka. Hopefully I was
Yes,
close.
Aaron. Yeah, you got it right. I've got a question. So are the sessions, the study group sessions, are they recorded? Because if I convert the time on my side, that's 1 a.m. in the morning.
Well, it'll take great dedication to join us at 1 a.m. I am absolutely amazed. During our chapter meetings, which start at 6 p.m., which the study group starts at 6 p.m., we get people from Australia, and it's like 3 a.m. for them. I go, that's dedication.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Rebecca, yes, the study groups sessions are recorded. And they are provided only for people that are registered for the study group. So
Okay.
no one else will be able to find those recordings or anything. However, IIBA's requirement for the PD hours is that you are there live You participate, you
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, you interact with the instructor and the other students, and that you demonstrate, learning the material, which we have student exercises we do every session, and that
Okay.
we hand them out, and then you do them outside of the study sessions, and we ask you to
Mm-hmm.
return them to us, completed and everything. So we see that you are demonstrating that you are engaged in this, and you're not just coming to a session and listening to the instructor speak.
Yeah.
And our study groups are highly interactive. We encourage questions during it. So you will miss that. We have had people that the time, like you're saying, is not really great for you. Um, so we've had people actually get their certification by participating in our study group, not coming to the study sessions, but listening to the recordings and everything, handing in their homework, and they do the practice test and the practice exam. So they're
Yeah.
participating. They're not able to, attend the actual study sessions because it's middle of the night for them. So
Yeah. Okay. And then the ones that take place on Thursday, I see there's multiple sessions there. So is that one longer?
what about the Thursday sessions?
I see here it says there's 4 sessions on Thursday.
Right. Is there a question about them?
Yeah. So how is it? So normally it's 6 to 8:30, right?
Right.
So the Thursday ones, does it go past 8:30?
No, all sessions are 6 to 8:30. And we're
Okay.
pretty punctual. You might get out early if we get them through the
Yeah.
material early, but we do
Okay.
start at 6 p.m. Eastern. And
Okay.
we typically do go to 8:30.
Okay.
Rarely do we run over that, but we're very respectful of your time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's like
All right.
8:30 in the morning for you.
Yeah.
So I understand it might be difficult. You might find a chapter that's in your region that may provide a study group that's more, time appropriate for you. But if you want to try ours, we will work with you on doing that. So you
Okay.
interested in the CBAP, CCBA, or ECBA?
The ECBA.
ECBA?
Yeah.
So you don't need the PED hours for ECBA. So, you can very well take our study group, go through the BABAC with us, take our practice test, practice exam, do all the homework. So you're learning the material to go out and take the ECBA.
Yeah.
So for those that
Is it
don't, for those that,
continue, sorry. Yeah.
ECBA has 50 questions. You have 1 hour to complete it. Whereas, like Andy was saying, it's 3 hours for the CCBA, 3.5 hours for the CBAP. The ECBA has 50 questions, and you have 1 hour to take that. And you can take the ECBA only online. You can't go to a testing center to take that. The CCBA, the CBAP, you have your choice of taking it online, proctored, or going to a testing center to take the exam.
Okay. I've got a final question. So if you're a seasoned or experienced BA rather, but you're just not certified, do you absolutely have to start at the ECBA or could you jump to the next one?
You can jump. You do not have to get the ECBA. If you can
Okay.
document that you have the hours for the CCBA or the CBAP,
Yes.
you could get that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Which,
Okay.
I don't, the CBAP is the only one I don't have the 2 lower ones. Andy started with the CCBA and then got the CBAP. So neither one of us have the ECBA. So
Obviously,
Okay.
just to jump in, obviously I would recommend the CBAP if you qualify for it. Go for the big one because that's probably more widely recognized than
yeah,
any of the other ones.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what we're doing then. Thanks.
you're very welcome.
I have a question.
Any other questions? Tara?
Yes, hello. I'm in Tennessee. I'm not too far from you.
Well,
I have a question. I have probably been doing the work experience for many, many, many years. How do you document the work experience, those years of experience?
we actually have it's a spreadsheet that one of our members who was going through this developed for us and everything, and we use it now as part of our study group. Basically, you were documenting work experience by the projects that you do for your employer or your clients, and you're telling them how many hours you worked on that project and what knowledge areas you did that work in, because it's not only 7,500 hours, but you have to document 900 hours in 4 of the 6 knowledge areas for the CBAP. So they want both breadth and depth of business analysis experience to show that you are seasoned as a business analyst. And the CCBA has a little bit less than that. I think it's 900 hours in 2 knowledge areas or 500 hours in 4 study knowledge areas. So it's not looking for as much depth and breadth as the CBAP is.
I understand. Does that mean that since I don't have any of the MBOC knowledge base starting out, that it would be better to go through the study group, and as I'm going through that, deciding which certification to go for?
Yes, absolutely. You can absolutely do that as you learn more about what is in the BABAC and everything. And we'll be sharing that spreadsheet for work experience with the participants of the study group. So you could start documenting in there and say, oh, I do have enough with the CBAP. Yeah, let's go.
And that was kind of the approach I took as well. You might remember I mentioned that I took the study group twice. The first time when I jumped in, I had no idea about the knowledge areas starting from square one. So yeah, I highly recommend that.
Okay.
Andy, it sounds like you and I are going to take the same path.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Amal? Do you have another question? I'm not seeing that Amal has. Oh. Okay, Amal, you should be able to talk now.
Yeah, thank you. As you recommended, I see the recommendation for the watermark many times. Still, I just wanted to ask if you or anyone here has the experience with Simply Learn. They have also the demo examinations. Did anyone use it? Do you recommend Simply Learn as well?
I
have not tried
personally
it.
don't have experience with Simply Learn. I don't know, Bill or Andy, do you?
I don't.
Do they have practice tests in Simply Learn, or is it just learning sessions?
They have the demo exam.
Oh, okay. Okay, so no, I know people have taken that before. I haven't really heard any kind of feedback on how good Simply Learn is.
Actually, I have attended the Simply Learns, but I haven't given that exam because already the capstone project was very large. So I'm targeting that one to complete my project first. there was a test for like this optional test for the Simply Learn for the BEBOK guide.
Okay. Yeah, so I can't give you an opinion on how it is better or not better than what the watermark learning has.
Yeah, actually, I cannot say on that only the Simply Learn test will enough for the certification or not.
Oh, okay. And that's a certification from Simply Learn, not IIBA.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Anything else? Well, you guys asked great questions today. From the number of questions, you're highly engaged, and we love that. Andy, thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate your insights into your journey. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for the
everybody.
opportunity.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Enjoyed having you. Enjoyed all the questions. If you want to get in that study group, get in there by next Friday, the 17th. So on the 18th, the prices will go up. So get in on the early bird pricing. We also do ask people to get started, studying before that first session. So, you want to be registered at least a week before. So if you're doing that, then get registered by the 17th to get the lower cost. Thank you for everybody who hung in here and came today. If there's any other questions about the study group or the certifications themselves, you can ask me at my email address is finance@bluegrassiiba.com. I'll be glad to answer any questions about the IIBA certification program or our study group for it. So there's my email in the chat. Thank you again for being here, and I hope to see some of you register for the study group. Thank you again, Andy, and you all have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.
Thanks, Aaron. Bye, everybody.